I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents.
Remembering people who are often forgotten, the family and friends of murder victims.
We invite people to share their personal stories. Many do and find in it relief.
World Priest Day. We'll find out what it's all about.
Priests work hard, and it's important for the priest to receive that affirmation from the people of God.
And a celebration in Queens devoted to one of the more recent saints, Padre Pio.
It's inspiring, and it's also it gives some new vigor. It shows that the church in Brooklyn and Queens is very much alive.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Francesca Maxime has the night off. Well, it is the last week of Respect Life Month. And as we've been showing you these past few weeks, opposition to abortion is a big part of the pro-life movement, but it's not the only part by any means. Among other things, there's dealing with the unexpected loss of life of those who are victims of murder. There are people here to help and comfort the grieving as well. Our Natalia Ortiz now joins me on a place where people can turn for more help right here in the borough of Brooklyn. Natalia.
Thanks, Matt. According to Bereavement Publications, Inc., at least 60 families lose a loved one to murder every day in the United States. Some say it's one of the most difficult kind of losses because of the court proceedings and media coverage that often follows, forcing people to continuously reopen wounds. At a special service for these families yesterday, I had a chance to speak with loved ones who are looking for healing and finding it.
Oh, Paul was a sweetie. You never know there was a child in the house. He was so quiet.
Tragically, Vita's son Paul did not get to live long past childhood. Paul Toppin was killed when he was 25. This month marks the 17-year anniversary of his death. He was killed trying to break up a fight between a friend and another man.
From then, my life has changed. Like I never had thoughts of suicide or anything like that, but like I didn't want to live anymore.
She's been coming to this candlelight service for family and friends of murder victims since it started 12 years ago. Through the years, her purpose for attending has become dual: to be comforted as well as to comfort.
Oh God, to give supports to the other mothers, you know. I tried, because when I had just started, and I used to see some of the mothers that was like 7 years, 8 years before me, I used to wonder, how could they be so quiet, so they be so serene? But, you know, then I understand that as the years goes by, even when it doesn't heal, it gets a little better.
The event, which has helped Vita, was held yesterday at the Convent of Mercy in Brooklyn. It was started by Sister Camille de Rienzo. She organizes this once-a-year gathering to help the loved ones of homicide victims cope with their loss. But Sister Camille's efforts began with a different mission.
I created this organization to advocate for the abolition of the death penalty, because we believe that is part of the whole right to life movement. However, it occurred to us that while we were being so concerned about those who had committed horrible crimes, we really hadn't been doing anything for those who were the victims of horrible crimes.
So she and the Sisters of Mercy began holding these sessions for those she says were often forgotten, friends and relatives left behind.
One of the works of the Sisters of Mercy has always been to comfort the afflicted. And there are few afflictions worse than the loss of a loved one.
Nature Fordham attended the event for the first time this year after her son lost his life last October. So how do you feel after this service today?
I feel a little better knowing I always knew that I wasn't the only one who had a loved one. My son murdered. Other families had their loved ones murdered also. I feel a little better being around other families like that.
Sister Camille says many people don't know how to console friends and relatives going through this kind of pain and often ignore the issue altogether.
They want someone to say, what happened? And listen. And don't ever say it's God's will. God never wills evil.
And Vita Toppin says it's God who's carried her through.
We, the mothers left behind, we have to trust in God.
The Sisters of Mercy work in collaboration with Safe Horizon, a homicide bereavement organization. For more information regarding their services, you can visit our blog. Go to currentsny.net, click on Riding the Wave in the right-hand part of the screen. Matt, let's send it back to you.
Thank you so much, Natalia. I tell you, it's just got to be just to have this gut-wrenching, sudden loss of life in someone that you love.
Yeah.
It's just got to be just amazingly life-changing.
It was emotional, and it was, everyone that was there had someone lost in a very tragic way. And what I found very interesting was that they not only helped them cope, but they also kind of gave instructions and tips on how people around them can help them cope. Because often, as Sister D'Arienzo mentioned, people shy away, they don't know, it's very awkward for family members of the family members. And so they often are left alone with no one to come to. So it was very brave of them also. They at the very beginning, they didn't let us go in with cameras for this portion of it, but I sat in there and they expressed, the mourning, and they were grieving, and they were telling the stories of how their loved ones had passed. And I felt that in doing that, we're already kind of releasing some of that.
Right.
So I think it was healing for them.
Well, that's great. It's great that this is there for them to be able to do that. Natalia, thank you so much for your report. We appreciate it. Well, there's much more Currents coming up straight ahead. When we return, tragedy strikes a New Jersey parish. We'll have that story and the rest of the day's headlines when Currents returns. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up a bit later on, Thanksgiving and prayer in Queens for the gift of Padre Pio. But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. Prosecutors are charging a church janitor with the murder of a parish priest in the Diocese of Paterson, New Jersey. The janitor is accused of stabbing Father Ed Hines 32 times following an argument last Thursday evening at St. Patrick's Church in Chatham. The janitor had worked at the parish in North Jersey for 17 years. New York Archbishop Timothy Dolan has been given another prestigious post. Dolan was named moderator of Jewish affairs for the U.S. Bishops' Conference. Archbishop Dolan was appointed for a 5-year term beginning next month. Well, a top bishop in the Anglican Church says he's ready to convert to Catholicism. Bishop John Hind of Chichester, England, says he would be happy to be reordained a Catholic priest. Meanwhile, the group Forward in Faith, a group of traditional Anglicans, met in London yesterday. The head of that group says the Vatican's announcement of a structure to make it easier for Anglicans to convert must be viewed as a positive step. Well, talks got underway today at the Vatican between church officials and representatives of the Society of St. Pius X. The society was excommunicated in 1988 after its leader ordained 4 bishops without the Vatican's approval. According to a statement, talks so far have focused on doctrinal differences between the group and the Catholic Church. Well, in other news from the Vatican, the African Synod wrapped up over the weekend, and we get the latest on that from H2O News.
Pope Benedict XVI closed the Second Special Assembly of the Synod of Bishops for Africa on Sunday with Mass in St. Peter's Basilica. In his homily, the Holy Father said the global development model should be renewed so that it is able to include all peoples and not only those already adequately equipped. The Pope said globalization is a human reality that may be modified and that the Church works with its personalist and communitarian vision to guide the process in terms of real, authentically human relations, of fraternity and sharing. The Church said Pope Benedict is also committed to working with all available means to see that no African goes without his daily bread. A reconciled Church, said Pope Benedict, a family of God without ethnic, linguistic, or cultural divisions is a powerful leaven of reconciliation in individual countries and throughout the African continent. In remarks before the Angelus prayer this Sunday, the Holy Father also had an announcement regarding the next Synod meeting. He told the faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square that during his upcoming visit to Cyprus, he shall deliver the Instrumentum Laboris, the working document for the next special meeting of the Synod of Bishops, which is dedicated to the Middle East.
Well, in another address to Synod attendees, the Pope warned them of two dangers in speaking on social issues, focusing too much on politics, he says, and being unrealistic. Stay tuned, there's much more Currents straight ahead.
Coming up, what's the connection between marriage and the priesthood? We'll find out.
We see the two sacraments really as operating very closely together.
Well, welcome back to Currents. Yesterday was World Priest Day, and right now we want to tell you more about it from the organization that sponsored this special day. Joining me now, Bob and Melinda Nobbs. They are local leaders with Worldwide Marriage Encounter. Also joining me is Sean Sukil, a second-year seminarian for the Brooklyn Diocese. Bob and Melinda, Sean, thank you all so much for being here today on Currents. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Now, some people, Bob and Melinda, I'll start with you, because some people might say, okay, Worldwide Marriage Encounter, World Priest Day. What do these two exactly have to do with one another? What do you guys explain?
Well, I think it goes back to Ephesians 5, where we talk about the parallels between the love of Jesus for the church and the love of a husband and wife for each other. And we see the two sacraments really as operating very closely together, intertwined. And so we achieve a special appreciation for our priests.
Yeah.
And we set aside this day to honor them because so often they are taken for granted. We really don't appreciate the impact of what they do very often.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and also, I mean, I guess, you know, a priest lives a life married to the church as well. So that's another parallel to be drawn there. Yes. So how did things go, I guess, yesterday? I should ask Melinda for World Priest Day.
Well, I think it was very exciting because Ana Puente, who's the coordinator for marriage and family ministry for the diocese, had sent out many things from Worldwide Marriage Encounter, suggestions on ways to celebrate, and lots of parishes picked up. Over the years, more and more have been participating, but some sent out cards to priests. Principals got the packages this year, and so children wrote notes of gratitude. We ourselves wrote to every priest in the diocese, retired priest serving overseas, and tried to affirm them and offer a spiritual bouquet. There are almost 500 priests involved, and so we sent those letters with 500 masses, 500 communions, 500 rosaries.
Well, amazing, amazing. So a great outpouring there. That's wonderful. Sean, what about you? I mean, you are a seminarian. You're now in your pastoral year, I understand.
Yeah, at Mount Carmel in Astoria.
Well,
great place to be.
Very good, great parish there with Monsignor Ogle.
Yeah, great pastor.
What significance does this World Priest Day have for you being a seminarian in particular?
I think World Priest Day was really such an incredible day because it was an opportunity for the people to give thanks to their priests that they love so much. Because priests work hard. They're very dedicated men to the people of God. And it's important for the priest to receive that affirmation from the people of God. And it's also important for the people to recognize the need for priests in their lives, you know. And so I think World Priest Day served that purpose. And yesterday in the parish we had a beautiful celebration at the 5 p.m. Mass. And it was a little more festive, and we had the Jornada youth group who did all the ministries. They were the musicians, they were the lectors, the ushers, they did everything. And they served so beautifully. And you could see that in their dedication, you could see that in their love for the dedication to the priesthood. And then after Mass, they had a reception for all the people in the parish and for the priests. And we're very lucky to have 5 priests that live in the parish, and including a seminarian. But, you know, yesterday was really just a beautiful day, and you could see the youth, their love for the priesthood, and this came directly from them. They wanted to do this on their own. You know, they approached Monsignor Ogle and they said, we want to honor the priests. So they took care of everything for the 5 p.m. Mass, and they hosted a reception afterwards. And it was beautiful. It really was incredible, and you know, the jornadas were they're really wonderful. They're a great gift to the parish and a huge source of encouragement to me in my vocation to the priesthood. So it was awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, very good. Very nice. One thing I think that's particularly significant, from what I understand, I think World Priest Day started back in, I think the first one was in 2000, in the fall of 2000. This, of course, is falling in a very special year in the Catholic Church, the year for priests. What's the significance of that, do you think? I mean, of course, it makes it even more special.
It definitely does, because I think the heightened awareness of people to the whole idea of the sacrament of holy orders and the challenges that these priests face today in the church and in the world, and the appreciation for big and little things and prayers that are said for them is heightened by the fact that it's a whole year for priests.
Yeah. It's a wonderful thing, I think, that we're drawing attention to this vocation. I think especially now, because there is a vocation crisis going on. You know, I mean, there's I guess there are more parishioners than there are priests to help minister to those parishioners. How do we go about encouraging? I mean, of course, things like World Priest Day, you know, the year for the priests, of course, is obviously something that's very encouraging, getting the word out there about that. But I'll just put this out there. How do we encourage folks to vocations even more so?
Well, I think the first thing is prayer. You know, the heart of a priest is the Eucharist, and it's important to see the love that people have for the Eucharist, and that speaks volumes to the heart of a priest, and that gets vocations. You know, when people come to the Eucharist and they pray in front of the Eucharist, they pray for vocations. That's what I think gets vocations. You know, today we have a lot of young people who are open to the possibility of priesthood, but living in the seminary and being with a lot of the seminarians, these are dedicated young men who are willing to give up everything to follow Jesus. Yeah. And that, you know, and that comes from their love for the Eucharist. Yeah. You know, the Eucharist is the heart of the priest, and certainly in my heart and the heart of all seminarians.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, very good. Well, our prayers will be with you. Thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Our time has come and gone, but we thank you so much for being here. It flew by, as I told you it would. It didn't hurt too bad. Thanks, guys. Well, Bob and Melinda Nobbs of Worldwide Marriage Encounter, thank you so much. And also to Sean Sukil, a second-year seminarian for the Brooklyn Diocese. Stay tuned. Much more currents coming up straight ahead.
Coming up, prayers to a popular padre at a parish in Queens.
Padre Pio is the saint of this age. There are a number of people here who are in this church who actually met Padre Pio.
Well, finally tonight, we focused in the last couple of weeks on two recent saints, Father Damien and Jean Jougan. But at Our Lady of Hope Parish in Middle Village, Queens, there was a celebration for another recent saint. Padre Pio died in 1968 in southern Italy. He's probably best known for having suffered with the stigmata, visible signs of the pain suffered by the crucified Jesus Christ. He was canonized in 2002, and we sent our cameras to Middle Village for the special celebration.
Today was all about honoring Padre Pio. His feast is usually in September, but they honor him today, a special day with prayer, the rosary, a little procession, benediction, and so on, and the Mass.
Today was an opportunity for the community here in this part of Queens to get together to celebrate Padre Pio, and the fact that for them, he is a very important intercessor, role model, guide, inspiration. And for me, it was an opportunity to come and celebrate Mass with them, and it was a great spiritual experience.
In the days and months and years ahead, to bring back good news to all who need to hear it, most especially the sick, the poor, the fearful, the lonely, those who are looking for hope. For if they will not find it in us, then in whom will they find it?
Well, it's wonderful to pray together and to praise the Lord and to thank him to have given us Padre Pio in a modern saint so that we can imitate him.
See, Padre Pio is the saint of this age. There are a number of people here who were in this church who actually met Padre Pio before they came to the United States. And so therefore, in many ways, they're very, very much touched by the memory and the fact that he is very much a significant part of their life. Plus the message, reconciliation, healing, peace. I mean, that's a message that our world really needs. So Padre Pio is absolutely the saint of our time for them.
Padre Pio gave so much to the Lord, 50 years of stigmata. Why? Because he wanted to alleviate the suffering of humanity. And this is the reason, because he loved us so much. I've met him when I was only 20 years old the first time. Then I went to confession to him and I asked him if my fiancé would be the right husband for my life, and he said yes. And then my husband asked me what would I like for a wedding gift, and I said, why don't you take me, while we're on a honeymoon in Italy, why don't you take me to Padre Pio to thank him, to get his blessing? And he said, oh no, I won't go to that friar, that forgotten little town of Italy. I said, well, I don't want any jewelry. I want a blessing from him.
He's loved by many, many, many people. Plus, the many hours he spent just listening to confessions and helping people, inspiring, you know.
Then it's inspiring, and it's also, it gives some new vigor, and they become even more enthusiastic. It shows that the church in Brooklyn and Queens is very much alive.
Although Padre Pio is a popular saint, you may not know he's the patron saint of civil defense volunteers and Catholic adolescents. And so great to see there a saint that people have actually met, because I mean you think of people who have been canonized, and of course it may not be that way with Father Damien, who we've been talking about recently, but definitely not that way with Padre Pio, that they lived, you know, such a long time ago on this earth. But it's nice to see there a woman who's met, you know, Padre Pio a couple of times in her life and has a real personal connection with him, his life's work, and now his sainthood. Well, that's it for this edition of Currents. Now, coming up tomorrow, honoring immigrants in this city of immigrants. We'll take you to a special dinner in Brooklyn. That and more coming up on tomorrow's edition of Currents. But until then, remember, you can always watch us online. Just head over to currentsny.net. There you can see clips of the show. You can also check out our blog. It is called Riding the Wave. You can follow us on Twitter as well. The address there, twitter.com/currentsny, and follow our tweets. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.